Hello, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to today's session, Ask the Experts Mastering Year End with Sage HRMS, presented by our panel of HCM experts you can see on screen with me here right now. My name is Courtney Pollock, and I'm the Customer Marketing Coordinator for SWK Technologies. And I have just a few things I want to go over before we dive into the details. So, everyone has been placed on mute to keep the background noise to a minimum. However, we encourage you to ask any questions you have throughout the webinar. This is our expert panel session, so don't wait until we get to that panel session to put your questions in. You can put them in at any time you think about it in the Q&A panel of your GoToWebinar, and we'll get to those questions when we do our panel session. In your GoToWebinar, you also have the ability to download a copy of the presentation in the handout section. We do have a few links in our slides, so if you download that presentation, you'll easily be able to access those links later on. And then also, if you have any issues when we're doing the walkthroughs of the presentations, seeing anything, you can zoom in and out on your GoToWebinar panel and change that layout to focus on different screens if needed. We're also going to be recording today's presentation, and it will be available to everyone tomorrow, attendees and those people who are unable to attend today. So keep an eye out. That'll come tomorrow afternoon about the same time as the webinar. And then we also have a couple polls, surveys throughout the session, so we'd appreciate your participation in those. We love to see you active and engaged, so looking forward to that. With that said, we're thrilled that you've taken some time out of your busy day to be with us on this session. This is our first time doing a year-end session for Sage HRMS, so we're super excited to share with you, some insights, best practices, and really walk you through everything that you need to know for year-end. So whether you're here because this is your first time doing your end in Sage HRMS, or you're a pro and you're just looking for some different tips and tricks, don't hesitate to ask those questions as you think of them. So that's enough from me. I'm going to introduce you to our presenters, and then we're going to dive in. So today, we've got some awesome presenters with us. We have Julie Tibbs. She's our Director of HCM Sales. We have Eric Turlington, who is an HCM consultant, and we also have Mike McFarland, who is a senior HCM consultant. So they're all going to help me out throughout this presentation. They've all got a ton of different expertise. So when we get to that expert panel question, you can ask a variety of questions. We've got the people here today who can help you out. So with that said, I think I'm going to kick it over to Eric to dive into year-end essentials and best practices.
Thanks, Courtney. So we'll get started by talking about some of the resources that Sage has available in their year-end center. As Courtney mentioned, there's a direct link to this in the handout, but I'm also going to walk you through how to get there and some of the helpful things that you can find there.
We're just going to quickly pass this over.
Screen share switched. All right. Okay, so the Year-End Center is a part of the HRMS Community Hub, and you can access that by going to communityhub.sage.com, and you'll go into the Sage HRMS group. And then right here on the right side under Quick Links, you'll see Year-End Center, and that will take you in to this Year-End Center area where you can find frequently asked questions that pertain to the year-end, as well as some links to the product updates, and the release notes as well. If you go over here to learning, you can find some additional year-end training that can be helpful, and that's provided through Sage University. But for this webinar, I'm going to focus over here on the checklists and walking through that process. These checklists are really useful to make sure that your process is smooth and that you don't miss anything. So for this, we're going to use the US payroll checklist. This walks you through steps to complete your year-end payroll tasks, like your W-2 forms, your 1095Cs, and talks about the updates for next year. To navigate through this, there's a next button on each screen that will kind of walk you through each steps, or you can click over here on the left side on each step as you go through. Each step has additional links and resources related to that step, and we are also available. So if you want to contact us, we can walk through this list with you or answer any of your how-to questions, any level of support that you would like to go through with this. you can email us, and our email address is hrhelp@swktech.com, and that will get to us so we can help walk through this with you. So we'll go on to step 1, and this is a link to the quarterly update so that you can be prepared to install that when you're finished with your final payroll of the year. Now that Q4 update is expected released on December 12th, so you can download anytime after that, but you do want to wait until after your last payroll of 2024 and then install it. That way you're ensuring that you're using the right tax tables, tax rates, and everything for the correct year. Step 2 has the reminder to update earning codes, deduction codes, and tax codes with any changes for the year. Example of this would be like your mileage reimbursements, your 401k, annual maximums, custom tax codes. You'll need to update those rates as well. Then step 3 discusses validating your current year data. So 2 valuable reports that it discusses here are tax calculation analysis and the earnings and hours reports. Those help you to ensure that your year-to-date balances are in balance. And if you see something that's not right, then there's transaction history. For example, if you had a calculation or any payments that were done outside of HRMS, you can use that transaction history to kind of put them in there so that when you generate your forms for the end of the year, that those numbers are all included. We'll go on to step 4. And that's a reminder to check that your employee information is up to date. I can't stress enough to check your addresses. Make sure that those changes are entered so that your tax forms will all go to the right place. And don't forget about your terminated employees. They need their addresses updated. If you had any that were terminated this year, they're going to get a W-2. So you'll need to make sure that their W-2 is going to the right place. If you are using ESS or HR Actions, you can have your employees update their information directly that way. I would recommend sending out an email to all of your employees to say, hey, please make sure that this information is up to date. Give them a prompt to go in and do that. Just that can save you time later on. So you don't have anything get returned to you and then you have to try and figure out where it needs to go. Also, go in and check your tax codes. Make sure if you've added any new ones this year, make sure that you've got your reporting IDs in place. Again, when you do that into your reporting, it's going to pull those reporting IDs, so it's good to get those in early. And then step 5 talks about actually generating those tax forms. Atrix lets you complete and file your tax forms like your W-2s and your ACA forms, and you can actually combine your 1095Cs and your W-2s into one mailing, and you get a pretty hefty discount for doing that if you let Atrix print and mail them for you. That rate typically is less than the cost of the materials and the time that it takes you to do it yourself. They can print and mail it for less than that. And then step 6 runs through a couple of additional items to check just to make sure that your payroll is ready for that first payroll of your new year. Now we're going to move over onto HR benefits, and I will hand it over to Mike for that.
Thanks, Eric. Depending on how you have your system set up to update your benefits, you may need to complete these processes after you've updated your benefit plans within Sage HRMS. To discuss this process or to help set up your system to auto run some of these processes, you can always reach out to our team for assistance. There are also helpful links on this page that can provide more information. Now we can look at the information pertaining to the time off processing as well here for year end. And depending on how your attendance plans are set up in HRMS will determine how you process time off at year end. This section explains different options for accrual processing within the HR module. And we'll be looking at best practices for both of these areas here in just a minute. So we can go back to you, Eric.
All right. And Courtney will take back over the screen, go back to the slide deck.
Yes, let's switch it back. Okay, thank you guys for walking us through that Sage HRMS Year-End Center.
All right. And so to recap what we just went through with the checklist, definitely go through that checklist to make sure that everything is ready for year-end reporting and your payroll. And you can see here, there's a link to that directly to that year-end center. So you can get there through this link or following the steps that I outlined earlier. And there's our email. If you need help, we are here. This email will create a ticket. It goes to all of us. So whoever's first available can get to you right away. And now we'll go through a few of our best practices. The first one that I have is to take notes. You go through this once a year and only once a year. And so it's really easy to forget each individual little steps and the little nuances that may pertain to your system. So take notes. Then when another year's passed and you're going back through this and you pull those out, you'll be thanking yourself. You will want to update to that Q4 release early. Definitely do that as soon as you're done with your final payroll of the year. That way, in case you run into any little issues with that update process, that you have plenty of time to get those resolved and you aren't stressed at the last minute trying to get it done so you can get payroll done. Update early. And using common deduction limits, even if you only have a single deduction in each group, can really speed up the process when you get to this end of the year and you're updating those. It gives you just a single place to update that limit and ensure that it applies to everyone. So you go in and, for example, your 401k annual maximum, that gets updated every year. You would only have to go in and do that in one place. And if for some reason one employee is supposed to have a lower deduction limit than everyone else, you can override that manually on a single employee. But it definitely helps to bring it all together and give you just one place to go. Mike, there's to you.
And for benefit expiration dates, the best practice for expiration dates is to use a future date such as 12/31, maybe 2099, something way in the future. That allows you to reuse your benefit plans year after year and simply update the rates each year as needed. Should you need to truly expire a plan that will no longer be available, you'll go to the setup and update the plan is in effect from dates on the general tab of the benefit plan. Expiring the plan there will terminate that plan for any currently enrolled employees and stop any associated deductions on the payroll side. In the event you're replacing a plan with a similar plan, you can use the copy plan option and expire the old plan, morph it into a new plan, and then assign all currently enrolled employees in the old plan into the new plan and expire the old one. For attendance carryover close, regarding attendance best practices for annual attendance plans or fiscal year attendance plans that close at the end of a calendar year, best practice will include steps that ensure that all current year transactions are submitted prior to a date before year end. That will allow for accurate plan closing and calculation of any applicable carryover. Then you can use the close accrual year process to apply criteria to the closing of a specific attendance plan or plans. Or for plans that are not using the payroll accrual rules, you can simply accrue time through a date into that next year. Once you do that, the system will prompt you and say, hey, do you want to close or accrue only to year end, or do you want to close the current plan year and accrue through that date that you provided? So either of those options will work for kind of processing that year end attendance information. And for any of these, always remember we're here to help. Later, Julie Tibbs will be speaking to you about system health check offerings, where we can analyze your current processes and provide best practice tips and tricks as well. I think that's good for me right now.
Yes. So now that we've gone over, how to get into that year-end center and all the different steps you can follow there and a bit of our best practices, I'm sure there are some other questions out there around year-end. So I'm going to ask all my panelists to come on camera and we're going to do our Q&A session. We do have a bit more after the Q&A. Like we said, Julie Tibbs has some different things to share with us. So we're going to do this Q&A session right now. And I've already got some questions for you guys. And if you're out there in the audience and you have a question on your mind, go ahead and get that in the Q&A session. And I will ask that to our experts in just a moment. So guys, the first question I have for you is, how are tax rates updated?
So I'll take that one. So tax rates for the majority are updated via the quarterly update. So any of the preloaded taxes that Sage puts in the system, they're going to update all of those tax rates with the exception of your unemployment tax rate. Since that is company specific, you will need to update that one if it has changed for either the state or the federal unemployment tax rate. If you have custom taxes, those will also need to be updated manually.
Okay, great to know. And what if some of the tax tables are updated after the quarterly update is available?
Ah, yeah, that's a great one. Sage has actually already planned for this because a lot of municipalities will wait until December 31st to release a tax rate that is supposed to take effect on January 1. So they've actually already planned for a service release to come out on January 9 to pick up any of those stragglers that did not make it into the initial release.
Okay, got it. And panelists, I had a question come in with a registration that said, how do I update contribution limits for 401k and HSA? And also then how do I reset the contribution amount for the 401k, for example?
I guess I'll take that one too.
Payroll ones.
So, updating contribution limits for 401k and HSA. Again, that's where I recommend that common deduction limits. Then you go into one place and you set it there, and that's it. It's updated, and that takes effect for all employees. If you don't have the common deduction limit set up, then you would go into the tax or the deduction code setting. There's a spot for the annual maximum. You'd put that in there, and then you would run the update earnings and deductions process to then put that same limit on each of your employees. And it's through a mass update, so it doesn't take a whole lot of extra time, but it is an extra step to remember. And as far as the contribution amounts, those will automatically reset at the beginning of the year. So you don't have to worry about those. As soon as the year ticks over, then those annual limits all go back down, or the annual part that contributes to that annual maximum will go back down to 0 and start all over.
Okay, got it. Another question we had beforehand was, we've been using Sage HRMS for many years and have high turnover. We have thousands of terminated employee records with termination dates from over 10 years ago. Is there a way to purge this data at the beginning of the year and start a year with a more streamlined system without losing, access to all of that data?
Right. Thank you for somebody submitting an HR question. I can answer this one. I think what you're looking for there is the archive terminated employee process, where if you've got a large number of terminated employees that you no longer really need ready access to, you can take and set a date and say, hey, from this date prior to that, anybody that terminated prior to that date, basically remove them from your active database. And then you could, it puts them off in a separate table you can access. But what we recommend is backing up your entire database before you run that process, set it aside, and then you can reference that later from a historical standpoint and just get whatever data you need. So what it does is it does streamline your current and active HRMS database, and still provide you with the ability to access that data historically should you need it.
Got it. That makes a lot of sense. And you guys out there in the audience, Mike would love more HR questions. But I do think, Eric, we've got another kind of payroll type question for you. So someone asked, can I print W-2s and 1095-C forms without Atrix?
Well, I guess that's kind of how it goes because year end, a lot of the year end things center around payroll. But yes, can you print them without Atrix? So Atrix is kind of integrated into HRMS. So in a way, no, and in a way, yes. So you're using the Atrix system to actually generate the forms. And as you go through, Atrix is going to generate those forms. And then it gives you the option of whether you want to have Atrix do the filing, printing, mailing of those forms, or whether you want to do it yourself. You can do it yourself at that point. You can choose to print all of your W-2s, all of your 1095-Cs yourself, put them in an envelope, mail them out yourself, or hand them out yourself, however you decide to do that. And so that's kind of a without Atrix, where you're using some of their system, but there is no additional cost for that. That's included with HRMS. But then there's also the service that they provide, which is printing, stuffing into envelopes, and then mailing those out with you or out for you. And I highly recommend doing that, just because it does make it a whole lot easier and ensures that everything gets where it's supposed to go on time.
Perfect. And, Eric, I'm going to throw in my own question there. Can SWK assist in filing Atrix forms?
Yeah, we can do any of that in any of the things that we've talked about. If you want help walking through any of this, you want us to walk through it with you, you just have a question about it at any level of support that you want, you can reach out and we will either go right there and do it with you, or we'll just answer the question that you have.
Eric, can you follow that up with how someone would request support?
That email address, hrhelp@swktech.com. That's really where you want to email that for all support requests.
Perfect. Yes. And if you missed that, it was on one of the past slides. So that email, if you need to reference it, will be in the recording, of course, and then also in the deck handout. So you can, if you need to jot that email down, another visual. Okay, and then I think we have maybe one more question unless we get any more submissions from the audience. So last question is, each year we tend to make several supervisory changes involving multiple employees. Is there a way to change the supervisor assignment as a group rather than one by one?
Another HR one. Thanks. You can use the mass update process in HRMS to change that data. Anytime you do a mass update, you always want to back up your data before you do it because it does, once you push that button, that data is changed. We can certainly assist with the specific fields that need to be updated to move a large group of people from one manager to another, and walk you through the criteria that you're going to use and the fields that need to be updated. It's relatively simple once you do it a couple times, but glad to assist. And then for clients with HR actions, you've got a built-in process there that you can use with different forms that update that reporting relationship en masse. So think about that for a form simply to move people from one supervisor to another, or maybe part of your termination form or a job change form where they get promoted or are terminated, and you want to move people that report to that individual at that time. It's actually a slick little utility for your HR actions clients. So, but again, we're glad to assist with any of that. So
That's awesome to know. I'm loving these like time-saving hacks that we've been able to share through some questions here. And I think, I'd be remiss on the marketing side of things if I didn't let everyone know that SWK does have a YouTube channel, and we do have a Sage HRMS playlist. And we have a ton, I think Mike's made most of them. We have a ton of, tips and tricks, little short videos that'll show you, how to save some time in Sage HRMS. So if you've never checked that out before, definitely give it a visit. We have tons of videos showing you different ways to kind of better utilize your time in the system. So I think that concludes our Q&A panel session. If, we're about to dive into some things that Julie's going to share with us. So if you think of anything, don't hesitate. I know we're not going to have a true Q&A pop up again, but go ahead and put it in the chat and I'll make sure we ask someone before things wrap up. So Julie, I think I'm going to hand it over to you here.
Hey, thank you,
Dive
Courtney.
into, yeah.
Appreciate it. Guys, great job. As always, I am surrounded by some pretty fantastic folks, so I hope that the time here today has been beneficial. We are excited that you joined us this afternoon. Just wanted to touch on a couple of things. If you are looking to possibly expand your HRMS footprint, obviously we can all help with that. There are additional modules, and you will see these outlined in the white area on this slide. One of the things I will point out is that we have a Sage Analytics promotion going on. And if you're interested in purchasing analytics, it is 50% off. And it does go hand in hand with the HR Actions electronic forms tools. Mike mentioned a health check, so we are happy to provide a free system health check to your organization just to make sure things are all firing on the right firing in the right direction, and be able to just level set, clean up your system if we need to help with terminations and things of that nature. We are happy to assist you and get a health check scheduled. My recommendation is we do it after you get through year end and all of those W-2s and 1099s are printed. It'll help you, and then it'll really give you a clean slate for starting the new year. And then last but not least, we do work with other solutions. I am in no way recommending you jump off Sage HRMS, but if you are interested in possibly migrating to the cloud, we have a number of different providers and solutions, as well as we have an internal hosting team who can put your Sage HRMS in the cloud if you would like that as well. Happy to get you in touch with all of those folks. Courtney, next slide. Thank you so much. All right, so final big push for year end. Obviously, we've got a lot on our plates as we are facing what's upcoming. Mike and Eric have both spoken of lots of different resources and tools, but as we have mentioned, we are here to support and help you. So as year end comes and you are maybe looking at doing different areas or handling different areas of closing out the year, we can help with running a data integrity check, maybe perhaps helping you complete quarter and year end tax filing updates, year end government reporting that you might need support with, of course, W-2s and ACA. And what we'd like to do is provide a special offer that if you buy 10 hours of our block, we will provide you with 1 free hour to use toward all of these different options that I've just listed off. Again, you can get in touch with us through the HR web or HR email, or feel free to reach out to me as well. And we very much appreciate y'all's time here today. We are excited to support and help you. We wish you a very happy holiday season and a successful close to your year. Courtney?
Yes, thank you, Julie. So like she said, we are offering that special block. And so I've put up a poll on your screen. So like she said, you can always reach out to Julie, anyone else on the team. There's many ways to reach us, but if you want to let us know right now, we're just curious, what are your next steps, multiple choice, multiple options. If you'd like to take advantage of that exclusive webinar offer of the free additional hour, or take advantage of that complimentary system health check, again, complimentary, or if you'd like to discuss one of those additional modules or solutions, just let us know in the survey. It's an easy way to do it. And if you're not sure yet, that's okay too. We're here to help you with your end in any way that you need. I'm gonna leave that open for just one moment longer, and then we'll wrap up here.
Courtney, any additional questions pop in while we were wrapping
No,
up?
I don't think so. We're either, a little too thorough, or, it's
They were
it's
probably
just
really thorough.
awesome. So with that said, I'm gonna pop on camera here. We just want to say a quick thank you to everyone for joining us today. We hope you found it informative. Again, if anything comes to mind after the webinar, don't hesitate to reach out. You can always go to our website at swktech.com. You can find our YouTube channel under resources there, among other resources. We put out blogs around Sage HRMS, different things throughout the year, and you can also find links to those other resources that you need. So if you think of anything, we hope you'll reach out, and if not, have a happy holidays. And we kept it short today, so take some extra time back for your day, and thank you for joining us. Thank you, Julie, Eric, and Mike, for sharing all your expertise with us today.
Thanks, everybody.
Happy holidays, everybody. Thanks, Courtney.